Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you most recent updates from the tragedy that happened in the high school in Georgia. Now, there's going to be a lot of stuff to come. There's going to be lots of attacks upon the Second Amendment, a lot of blaming us all individually for something that a criminal did. But at the end of the day, that's for another time. Right now, I've got to show you what's just going on at a high level so you are aware of the facts because we need a positive two-way source that actually brings information to you guys so we can disseminate it properly outside of the propaganda that I'm about to show you. Everything that is here is going to be linked in the description box below. And if you guys can help me, please send this out to your friends, send this out to your family, and make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on, and throw some comments right down there in the comments to help this video accelerate out of this algorithm. Now, let me get into this. I'm going to say my normal disclaimer. I don't get involved in the fights for gun rights versus gun control in the light of these tragedies until at least 24 hours. I think it's a respect thing, so I'm just not going to get involved. There will be plenty of time to do it, but I'm going to show you what's going on the ground. But it's pretty clear and evident from that headline right there. Officials identify a 14-year-old student as suspect in Georgia school shooting that left 4 dead. It seems to me that we might have a decay in our society that's a little bit more pressing than gun availability. Again, plenty of time for that in the future. But you've got a 14-year-old who cannot legally buy a gun, who cannot legally own a gun. A 14-year-old. So all the things that we're going to cover in a later video tonight with all the gun controllers coming out and blasting their emotions all over the place around gun control and blaming you and I, all their solutions would fall flat because this was a 14-year-old. But let's continue. I got to show you what's happening on the ground again to set the record, and then we'll kind of go through a few things because Harris has already jumped on it too within an hour or two after the shooting. The 14-year-old suspect in the fatal mass shooting at a Winder, Georgia high school has been identified. Don't say names, that's a standard on this channel. The suspect is a student at the school who will be charged with murder and will be handled as an adult. Good. Hope he does. Now, the important thing about this isn't some outside force. This is a student at the school. This is a 14-year-old. This is underage. What do we have going on in our population and in our society and in our culture that a 14-year-old's go-to solution is to eliminate classmates or teachers? The problem is not guns, because guns have been here the entire time of our nation. Something else has changed. It's not what's in our hands, it's what's in our hearts and our minds that has been decaying. It's not the tool, it's the actual person. But anyway, let's continue, and then I'm going to show you the turn of the politics, because it went there fast. The high school had received an earlier phone threat, multiple law enforcement officials told CNN, so someone called in. The phone call Wednesday morning warned there would be shootings at 5 schools, and that Appalachia would be the first. It is not known who placed the call, officials tell CNN. They are investigating and figuring out where it came from. So, multiple calls, 14-year-old, looking for maximum impact. That's what we're looking at, okay? And this is the part where it went and took a turn real quick, like a paragraph in. The U.S. has suffered at least 385 mass shootings so far this year, according to the Gun Violence Archive, which, again, we will conquer all of this within that 24-hour window falls. 385 mass shootings in a year. This is the same people that say we should reelect Harris and the Democrats across the board because violent crime has never been better. See how they play this game? And the Gun Violence Archive is a joke, and we've covered that. Again, I'm going to have plenty of time to cover all that stuff, but I'm just trying to show you the lay of the land on the play of the field. So let's jump over to what Harris said. She went off script, again, at a rally hours after this happened. Harris goes off script to address Georgia school shooting. It does not have to be this way, and I've got the clip coming up in 1 second for you guys. But let me show you what she said here. Vice President Harris on Wednesday went off script at a rally in New Hampshire to condemn gun violence following a shooting at the Georgia high school earlier that day. Harris called the shooting a senseless tragedy, for what it's worth it absolutely is, adding, "We've got to end the epidemic of gun violence in the country once and for all." Again, all the gun control laws that she would put forward and her acolytes would put forward would not apply to a 14-year-old, they would apply to an adult. The problem in our country is not the availability of guns, as they would tell you. It's because we have a problem in our hearts and minds to where a 14-year-old has had enough life experience and exposure to jump to this as the final solution for or for their problems. There's a bigger problem here, and it's not made of metal. But anyway, let's continue. This is what she said in the actual rally. By the way, I love Gen Z. I just love Gen Z, she said. One of the things that I asked every time that I went to an auditorium, raise your hand if at any point from kindergarten to 12th grade you had to go through an active shooter training. She said every hand went up. So she's trying to draw the idea that preparing for the worst is basically an indicator that we have a terrible solution or a terrible existence. She's trying to do. But our kids are sitting in a classroom where they should be fulfilling their God-given potential, and some part of their brain is worried about a shooter busting through the classroom. It does not have to be this way. That is absolutely correct, because it seems that one part of this equation in the conversation for a solution is my way or the highway, gun control or nothing. I'm saying what it is. Chris Murphy, I'm looking at you. This is one of the many issues that's at stake in this election, the vice president added before moving back on script about her economic plan, which is comical because she doesn't have one. But other than that, this is one of the many issues at stake in this election. Assault weapon ban, universal background checks, and red flag laws are her little stated go-tos. None of those would have any outcome, any impact, any effect whatsoever on a 14-year-old. Zero. So as we continue, we're going to hear that a lot more. Let's jump right over to Harris. Let me show you what she's saying today at this rally. Guys, it gets so tiresome at a certain point because it's gun control or bust for them. That's all they want. Wait until I show you later on all the Twitter emotional responses everywhere from the known gun controllers. That's when we're going to start engaging in this, because again, we need to have two-way favorable observations coming into this to engage in the 60 days of this election where this is going to be a main thing. Let's keep going though. Here's what she said today.
But this is just a senseless tragedy on top of so many senseless tragedies. And it's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is. We've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all. You know, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way.
All right, so that's her point. It doesn't have to be this way, doing the emotional appeal. Now, again, keep in mind, every single assault weapon ban that they've put forward has a grandfather clause that says all ARs can be in the country, just the new ones can't be. I mean, it's a game. It's a big game to collect funding for the gun control side. But again, try not to get too deep into it this close to the tragedy itself, because I think respect is due. I wish everyone thought that way, but that's not exactly the case. Every single thing that she just alluded to and all of her plans would not have affected, or excuse me, would not have been preventing anything with a 14-year-old, because all the laws and rules that they would pass would be 18-year-olds up, because they're the only ones that can buy guns. 14-year-olds can't buy guns. Again, we have a problem in this country, all right, but the problem is not made of metal, it's made of hearts and minds. We have lost the connection with something. I'll let you guys fill that in however you think it is. But let me get over here to this next one that the president chimed in, and then we'll kind of wrap this whole thing up and kind of expect and lay out where we're going to go from this. The president highlighted his work to combat gun violence, including signing the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act into law and launching the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, but he stressed that more must be done. Quote, "After decades of inaction, Republicans in Congress must finally say enough is enough and work with Democrats to pass common sense gun safety legislation," Biden said. "We must ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines once again, require safe storage of firearms, enact universal background checks, and end immunity for gun manufacturers. These measures will not bring those who were tragically killed today back, but it will prevent more tragic gun violence from ripping more families apart." Again, reiterating that exact same point. Everything that he just listed there, his little go-to, would not have affected a 14-year-old. They are standing on emotion, they are standing on tragedy, and they are trying to build emotion and emotion and momentum for their gun control policies, which they're going to roll directly into their presidential campaign for the next 63 days. Everything that you're seeing here, again, had no outcome on a 14-year-old having a gun. Zero. Zip, zero, nada. It's impossible because they can't buy guns legally. So all the solutions they tell you are common sense would have nothing to do with this, but it's not about having something to do with this. It's about achieving their ends and their means. All right, let me wrap this and then I'll kind of show you where we're going to go from this kind of going forward. So on our end, I'm watching all the updates, I'm watching all the main players, and I'm watching the politicians and the campaigns. On Katie's end, we've deployed Katie to watch a lot of the interactions on a base level to see where we're kind of going from a standpoint of direction and what they're going to pressure towards. Also, keep in mind we're going to be focusing on Congress to see if they sneak something through or try to sneak something through, or they just divide it into the campaign for President hypothetical Harris or Trump, right? So, what we're going to do in the short term, they're going to make this a very big piece of the equation. They are. You're going to see lots and lots of articles. You're going to see them from Politico because they need to change the momentum off of Harris losing momentum and into something that they would perceive as her strength. You're going to see a full court press on this tragedy. And it is a tragedy and deserves respect, and we need to fix the problem. We do. There is a problem. No one can say there's not a problem. But the solution for the problem is obviously where we differ dramatically. Again, I would just like to put my flag firmly in. We have a problem and it's not made of metal. It's made of squishy parts right in here. We've allowed our population, we've allowed our children, and we've allowed the next generation to find this as a proper solution for issues. We've got a problem, but it has nothing to do with inanimate objects. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to dive into this deep and we'll be ready to defend our rights on the YouTubes per usual because, as always, the storm will be coming, but we'll be here to bash it back into the ocean. And I will see you on the next one, guys. Later.